It was honestly in bad taste. And it is a typical Indian convenient mentality, okay? For us, even now when we look at it, color shaming, racism is very casual. Height shaming, body shaming is very, very casual, okay? Where have we evolved? In fact, in the modern era, we have only degenerated even further. Is Rishabh Pant 6'2" that he gave him this kind of a thing? And see, this is the problem. We in India, there will be comments that will say, "Oh, why you're making such a big fuss about it?" But you can't make a big fuss about. You have to make a big fuss because for years and decades, we have normalized this kind of behavior. Yeah. Either on height, either on appearance, either on color, either of region where you are from. This is 2025. This is not 1925.
No, I agree with you that there's a general problem in the country where, racist slurs are very common, which is very sad to say the least. Anyone who's dark skinned, you call him Kalu. Like, it's a normal thing in Indian society, which is really sad. Or, people from the Northeast, what kind of references that are made to them, or from South.
Once Yuzi and Yuvraj were caught up in a...
Yeah. But though, I'll have a different take on that. Okay. But I agree that some people took offense to it, which is fine, but I think that was more in the way you talk. But when you're talking about appearances, how he looks, that's pretty common in our society, which really needs to be weeded out. I completely agree, but more so in this case, because you are representing your country, and everything that you do is going to be looked at with close scrutiny. If you remember, I go back to that whole thing that happened in England against the curator and Gautam Gambhir. And while we put the side of the Indian team forward that the curator was being unreasonable, so on, that's fine. And they were in their right to be aggrieved and raise a point and raise an issue or be angry also. But certain things that were made or said to make him feel below them, I thought was also unfair, where you made him feel that, classes, you're a curator, I know, like that. So that I thought was rather sad, and that's the only criticism we had of the Indian team. Not about them fighting. If they were being done any sort of wrong, they should have fought, and that's fine. But the word, and same thing here. I'm just reversing the situation. If India were touring South Africa, and in something a South African player had said to an Indian player, you tell me?
No, let's go back to the Australia series. But that whole MVP thing also came up, and it was targeted at Jasprit Bumrah. I know that was far more racial and blatant.
Yeah.
But this, while it may not qualify as the same abuse or slur, whatever, it's not an abuse.
But in that case, I'll tell you, the MVP was most valuable primate. Firstly, that was also said by someone of the Asian origin. So then that I'm not saying that you don't need to look at it seriously, but kind of devalues it, because then the race was the same.
Yeah.
Firstly, and I thought that was said, and Ishagua also made it very clear. I think that was, we often say, it's an extension of us also being primates, and it's said it in casual language, like strongest primate.
Why I brought that up is because remember the furor that it had created on Indian shores. So much so that Isa Guha on live TV had to issue an apology.
I agree, because some people
took a huge backlash.
But I don't think there was any malice in that.
There was no malice per se. There was no malice.
That was a very creative way of. No, there was a creative way of.
There was no malice perhaps in this.
That was wordplay.
It's just about the language being used and
the word actually. The word.
Exactly.
Had it been said, "Yaar, wo chota hai, to miss ho jayegi,"
What? Or is that the word that is used, Harshad? Is that the word that they use for short-heighted people generally up here?
First Jasprit.
Yeah.
First Jasprit, then Rishabh, then Bumrah.
All three said.
That's the problem. If that is the word which is used very casually in this part of the woods to describe a dwarf, then I think there's a problem.
But
she's
not a dwarf. That's
exactly. That's the problem that I have.
You remember that? I think it was Lamine Yamal who was caught up in a controversy over a birthday party when he employed
7
dwarfs or something, because
something like
that is, I think, subject to a lot of criticism. Yes, I think it was Lamine Yamal.
Yes,
right,
it was.
That.
Yeah.
That is the level where you've gone, where you have some kind of a protection for that kind of people when you look at it. you know why? See, basically on social media, what has been the issue?
But can I tell you one thing? If they were to, things they're saying, what I hear about Temba Bavuma, if they're saying this thing, Jasprit, Bumrah, Yashasvi Jaiswal, Rishabh Pant, ask all three to race against Temba Bavuma, and he'll make them eat dust.
Yeah.
He's one of the quickest runners that they are in the South African team.
Yes.
So if they were to see their fitness and make them do a sprint, then everyone who called him what they did will realize,
Yes. You know
what he
what
is.
has been the problem? I mean, if you have to look at why is it happening? You know the relations of India and South Africa. It's a very dark relation and history that we've got. I mean, there's been so much racial abuse that was targeted at the Indian community during apartheid. We didn't have relations with them for this very same reason. Now, in social media, you know what is the problem? When Temba Bavuma is right there, they would want to show a visual where Marco Janssen's also standing next to him. Now, in that team huddle also, we saw Janssen was like this
That was
lighthouse,
Yeah, but
and we
that
were
you
all
can't
in that
do
sense.
anything
but that
about.
what do you do?
That's the thing.
That used to happen. West Indies, there used to be
Ghana.
No, there was Curtly Ambrose and
Walsh.
and the wicketkeeper Williams.
Yeah.
Forget his name.
There was Junior Murray also.
No. Williams. What Williams was he? Yeah, somebody in our live chat.
Stuart
went-
Williams, but he was an opener. He was
No. There was a wicketkeeper. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
barely 5 foot, and he and Curtly Ambrose used to be a side because after the wicket they would do the high five. Nah? So,
Yeah.
but there was, wicket keepers are short. You need,
Yes.
but that's fine. That's part of sport. It happens in so many sports.
Casualness, again, it's a reflection of our society as
It
well.
is,
What we
yeah.
saw on screen. Also, I just firmly am against the fact that this is again, these are players who are very well trained in terms of what media engagement and how is it that
Yeah.
they should be behaving in front of camera, mics. They spend as much time in front of the camera and mic as much as probably we as professionals do, and they know very well what's being said and what's not being said. So they're very, very conscious about it. And for such conscious athletes, then you should have been mindful that there are young kids.
Okay. David Williams. You will see a picture. If you see a picture of them celebrating, you will know.
David Williams.
Yeah, Williams. I remember.
From the early 90s.
William, there used to be a moment where the two of them used to be celebrating. It used to be
Ambrose.
it used to be quite a sight.
Yep.
But yeah, I agree. Not done. I don't think, but I think the relationship between the two teams is so good that they won't be pressing any charges as such. But otherwise, if it could be
Okay,
there.
this is the one.
There you see.
Yeah.
See the difference.